Welcome back to the Center Square Daily. I'm your host, Greg Bishop. The Chicago Bears say a Megaprojects deal that passed the Illinois House yesterday needs additional amendments in order to make Arlington Heights a feasible stadium site. Now, the Bears said in a statement they support Illinois leaders as they determine the path to make essential changes in aligning on infrastructure funding. The House passed a bill Wednesday night late that the sponsor says changes the legislation prohibit data centers using incentives, a tiered duration for tax freezes depending on the dollar amount of the development, and a 7-year sunset on the bill so lawmakers could evaluate how it goes before deciding whether to continue it. Speaker Chris Welch, he said that they got the bill across the line of scrimmage before the clock ran out yesterday.
What began as a conversation about the Chicago Bears resulted in a statewide tool for economic development paired with real property tax relief for working people.
Here's the sponsor of the measure, Chicago Democratic State Representative Cam Buckner.
When you talk about what was in this bill and the stuff that we worked on with the governor's office and the Senate office and the Senate since January, this is the framework that not only I think will remind the Bears that this is their home, but it will remind other developers and organizations across the state and across the country who may want to stay here or come here why this framework makes us competitive.
So again, not specifically about the Bears, but the Bears seeing it as something they could work on with legislators. After the bill passed the House yesterday, it still can be brought up in the Senate where more amendments could be made before going back to the House for concurrence. Again, they have a May 31st deadline to finish everything up with simple majorities. Clearly, a lot of people are going to be watching that end zone timeline. Now, Buckner, he said another tool in the bill is new opportunities for vacation and adventure districts. And that includes at least 500 contiguous acres, producing at least $500 million in capital investment and generating at least $300 million in annual gross sales, and attract at least 1 million annual visitors, create at least 1,500 annual jobs. That's just one of the parameters to be able to get special incentives like tax breaks and such to make those types of developments. Now, once the state certifies a mega project developer, the bill says the developer would then negotiate an incentive agreement with the local taxing body. The developer would then make a payment with 50% going toward property tax relief. But Americans for Prosperity Illinois Deputy State Director Brian Costin, he expressed to a committee concerns about the constitutionality of picking winners and losers, with some businesses paying different property tax rates than other businesses.
If I was a business owner, I'd be really scared. I'd try to move into the mega project district. So there's a wide disparity. In the mega project districts, we do think this is going to create a lot of development. There's going to be some of the lowest property taxes in the nation assessed on properties inside the mega project district, but outside the mega project districts, we're going to see some of the highest property taxes in the nation already. And without fixing these portions of the bill, we think that over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, up to 45 years, that these property tax rates can double or triple. And we're concerned on what that might make those communities look like if that's not rectified.
Now, on the House floor late Wednesday, the measure did get bipartisan support. Republican State Representative Martin McLaughlin, he says they should go ahead and advance this measure.
One thing I do know is my friends on the other side of the aisle and the governor certainly cannot afford for the Bears to leave the state of Illinois, and more time will cause greater expense to the tunes of billions of dollars of incentives. So for that reason, to stop the bleeding on incentives and taxpayers, I urge that we move forward.
Please bring your remarks to a close.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Just one final sentence. So I urge that we move this project forward because, let's face it, guys, it's going to happen, and the longer we wait, I can't watch billions of dollars more in incentives be thrown away. So I'm going to advocate for this at this time.
But other Republicans were skeptical. Republican State Representative Blaine Wilhauer, he criticized the bill and also Democrats for advancing it.
But if you're a homeowner, a farmer, a small business person, you pay the full value. No questions asked. You don't get to go into back rooms and cut deals like this. Now, here's the part that should alarm every taxpayer in Illinois, because this is where the real damage happens. This deal allows local governments to treat projects as fully developed for borrowing and levy purposes. Like all that new value is on the books, while the corporation is only paying taxes based on the pre-development value. Think about that. Government gets to spend and borrow and build their budgets like it's a multi-billion-dollar property. But it's only collecting taxes on a fraction of that.
And while there was bipartisan support for the measure, there was also bipartisan opposition. Chicago Democratic State Representative Lillian Jimenez worried that the measure, it leaves certain communities behind.
I feel that these incentives, while working towards a mega project, really leaves out behind a lot of our communities in the northwest side and west side of Chicago, and many communities. Homelessness was brought up. I do believe that the homelessness situation in our communities needs to be addressed, and I don't see this project as being the solution to that.
Now again, the measure passed the House. The Senate expected to take it up next week, where they could possibly amend the bill and then get it over back to the House for concurrence. That May 31st deadline rapidly approaching. Now, another measure we reported on yesterday here at the Center Square Daily that was expected to come up was a measure impacting how the state draws legislative and congressional maps. According to the House Speaker's bill, the priorities are in order for all districts to have near equal population when they're drawing maps, to provide equal opportunity for all citizens, regardless of race, when they're drawing maps, the creation of districts with racial minority influence, and for district borders to be unbroken and compact. And this is a simple question being asked to voters. But Republicans see it differently. State Representative Ryan Spain, he criticized the proposed amendment. He said they need an independent commission to draw maps so that voters are choosing their elected officials, not politicians picking their voters. And he urged for this proposed constitutional amendment that could appear on the November ballot to be voted down.
This is not democracy in action. This is the embodiment of the corruption of absolute power. It is wrong. In Illinois, if you like the way things are going, if you like paying the highest property taxes in the country, rising cost of living, out of control debt, a state that continues to be plagued again and again by ethics and corruption scandal, then you'll love this constitutional amendment. But if you don't, if you're tired of seeing your family fleeing the state of Illinois, your children and grandchildren exiting for better opportunities in other places, you need to vote no on this amendment.
Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch, who brought the amendment forward, he said the measure is needed to protect voting rights in Illinois.
When I look at that portrait of Abraham Lincoln watching over us from the Republican side of the aisle, I recall his words that a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Those words and that vision guided our country through our darkest hours. Let's show everyone today that in the land of Lincoln, we still believe that a democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people must include all of the people.
Now, while they have a May 31st deadline to pass legislation with simple majorities, they have a May 3rd deadline to approve constitutional amendment proposals in order to get it on the November ballot. So that measure making it across the finish line in the House before it goes to the Senate, who returns next week, and they could take that redistricting proposal up. Again, it doesn't change the state's maps now, but it lays out some guidance for how they will remap in the future. But that May 3rd deadline is going to come before the House has an opportunity to take up that proposed millionaire's tax, something else we reported about yesterday, expecting it to come up, but that did not happen last night. Here is the speaker saying how he still says there needs to be work done to the bill.
You know, I am a big supporter of taxing the rich. I believe that the rich should pay more to help us do more. For those who much is given, much is required. But I've said a number of times that the title on that door shouldn't be Speaker of the House. The title should be Listener of the House. And part of doing this job right and getting to positive results like we got to today is listening to people. And what we heard from listening to a lot of people over the last few days is that more work needs to be done. And we're committed to doing that work.
The House off the rest of the week. They don't return next week. The Senate does. So if you want to stay up with what's going on at the State House and how you, the taxpayer, are being impacted, be sure to get the headlines in your inbox with the newsletter, free at thecentersquare.com. And also be sure to subscribe right here to the Center Square Daily.